if we get this information coming in? What is our goal? We've always talked about this. Think it out with comments. Let's add a comment in here. So go to your system. Where's your comment? There it is. What do we want to do with that data? Jeff, any ideas?
Well, so we're getting a string that says LVL at. So that helps me know which messages I'm trying to grab, but I only need like the last bits off of those, like the last two characters is what I really need.
Yeah, we can't send LVL to our fader. That doesn't make any sense, right? We're trying to update our fader right now. We can't send it LVL. We can only send it the numbers.
Right, yeah, right. We've got to get the numbers. But I do recall that you also told me just a minute ago, you had like this whole big speech about the differences between strings and numbers. And so I bet that's going to be coming up right here as well.
Absolutely. So thinking this through, first thing we need to do is we need to cut off the numbers that we need, right?
But I probably need to put those things somewhere.
Yeah, you are indeed going to put them into the fader, right?
Sure.
But in between those two things, as Jeff nailed it, we need to convert them from strings to numbers, right? That's got to happen. We can't give the string 99 to the fader. We need to give it the number 99, okay? So the first thing we're going to do, cutting off the numbers that we need. I told you this at the top of this section. We're going to be using something called a substring for that. If you look in your strings, scroll on down, there's one that's called in string X, get substring from character, let's call it Y, to character Z. Let's grab that guy. We will drop that. Well, we can't drop it anywhere right now. It doesn't convert to anything. So
tooth it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's an input, and we'd have no inputs to shove this yet. So just for argument's sake, I think we should make a variable here. We want to remember the thing that we're pulling out, right? So to keep it really simple, let's just create a new local variable. We're going to say, hey, new variable, and we are going to call this the actual level. That's all we need. And now we can input into that variable this long substring. Let me hide my UCI bit here. Okay, so in string X, we're going to get a substring that starts from character 0 and ends at character 0. That's already not very helpful. But what we're talking about here is we're counting characters from the beginning. So, again, with hello world, H was the first character, E was the second character, L was the third character, etc. If you're counting them forward, then we just need to understand which characters that we need. Well, we know that ours is LVL at 94. Counting forward, the L is 1, the V is 2, the L is 3, the at is 4. So the first digit we need is number 5. And the last digit that we need is number 6. These are inclusive. These are the numbers that we want, not where we're going to stop on either end of them. So we want to get a substring from 5 to 6. And what are we looking in? We're looking in the message, in the thing it gave us. Now, there are a different couple ways we could have done this. In this one, we counted forward from the beginning. You'll notice that these are drop-down menus. I could choose to simply start from the first character. That way I don't need to think about it. Or I could do character number from end, in which case you're going to count from the end. And if I'm counting from the end, let's do that for both of them, then I would actually want number 2 to number 1. It wants 2 from the back or 1 from the back. That's a little bit confusing. I don't like doing it that way. You could do character 2 from the end and also to the last character. That's a little bit simpler. Personally, I always keep it on just character 2. And we'll do that again. And here's another trick you could use if you wanted to count from the end, is you can actually use a negative number to count from the end. So here I could do character number -2 to character number -1. And I prefer that method if you're going to count from the end rather than doing the character from end drop down, because it just if you do this over and over again, that negative will always just be a nice big flag to you that you're counting from backwards from the end, whereas you might not notice that you're changing it to this one. Whatever you prefer is up to you. But all of these methods will give you the exact same thing. It'll give you the 5th and the 6th character. That's all we're looking for. Choose your poison. So now we've got the thing. We've got the number, in this case, 99 or whatever it is. What do we have to do with it? This is the easiest part to miss. That's why we put it in all caps right here. We got to convert it from a string to a number. This is a substring. This is a string block. Everything about it is screaming at us, this is a string and not a number. We have to convert it. So we could, in the idea of only doing one thing per line in your script, you could make another variable. Like I could say, hey, let's make a number version of actual level. And then what we could do is we could take this actual level and we could convert it using, if you go to your values tab, the very last two are called toNumber or toString. And basically its input will be the opposite of what it is, and then it outputs, the number or the string version. We want to create a number. So I could do it this way. I could shove the actual level, which is a string, into the toNumber, which is essentially a function, and plug that into our new variable to create the number version of our actual level. That's fine. That works. 100% that works. Personally, I think it's a couple of steps too many.
Yeah, couldn't we just run one function into the other function?
We 100% can. Because in this case, it's such a simple thing to do, I would just take that toNumber and shove it in here. That is a lot cleaner. Then I don't need to create a second variable at all. Technically, we are doing a lot of things in one line, and sometimes, that can be difficult to read. But in this case, I actually think it's easier to read because there's fewer things going on. So we're creating the substring. We are turning that into a number and turning that into our variable of actual level. Either way you want to do it, again, either way will work. I just think this one's a little bit cleaner, a little bit simpler, fewer lines of code. Okay, and now that we've got our number, what's our last thing we want to do on our think through? Put them into the fader. So grab your controls, your light fader. We are going to set its value to the actual level. And that's it. Now, if you really want to follow through on the same mentality I just talked about, where fewer lines of code might be happier, you could theoretically get rid of this variable entirely and just put this into that and delete it. That is also 100% functional. We are taking the substring, we're transforming it into a number, we're transferring that to the light fader's value. That makes this event handler actually very, very slim. Not so bad at all. But again, for argument's sake, I prefer doing things kind of one step at a time. So I'm going to keep mine with a variable first and then feed that variable in. Maybe we need that variable somewhere else later on. You never know. I think this is just scaffolding-wise a little bit nicer way to.
Hey, Nate,
Yeah.
Do we need a debug print this thing?
Why, Jeff? I think we do. It's not a bad idea. We are getting that information from the, we're already debugging the level coming in, but it doesn't hurt to debug that we're updating our fader too.
Right. So actually, if we cut to my screen, I can show you that I made a few different choices along the way. One of the things that I did was instead of, right up here at the very top, instead of putting in \r, I put in hexa0d. I also changed mine to say rx, so that then when I was looking, because rx to me means the thing that I received. So if in the string that I received, did I find the thing? Yes, and I did the substring in the same way. I just chose to get to the end of the line in a very different way. I actually said go from character -2 to the character that is the length of the string that I received, which works out to be exactly the same position. And then I made a debug print where I said that I received the message string and then the level is var actual level. I called it var actual level because I'm a nerd and that's the prefixes that I like. And so now my debug very plainly says I received LVL at 99 and the level is 99, all in one clean, clear line. It makes a lot of sense to me.
And again, the joy of any coding is that you can do it in multiple different ways. And if it works, it works. And if it is more efficient for your brain, then that's the way you want to do it. So we're trying to show you some alternative methods here. Okay, so this is working. You know, we press our preset button. You know, that all gets a thing. We get our information coming back from the lighting device. But here's something that I do want that we don't have yet. Right now, you may remember that we set up sort of a fake feedback that when you move the fader, it would turn off the preset buttons. So that, you know, it wouldn't give you this false information that we were still in the full light mode if you move the fader away. That's good. We don't want to be confusing people. But if the fader is all the way up, shouldn't that match and turn the top preset on to indicate that we are in a full on state? If we bring the fader all the way down, shouldn't that make this bottom preset engaged? Because that matches that we're in a full off state. Probably less likely that anyone's gonna exactly nail like 33 or 66 on here. But generally speaking, all 4 or all 5 of these controls should represent and give us the same information. So why don't we do that too? We've got this information coming back from the lighting controller, the actual feedback of what its actual level is. We want to also engage these buttons if they match what the actual level is. Yeah? That may sound like it's a lot of work, but it's actually not a lot of work at all. Because you may recall that earlier in this section, we created our interlocking buttons function, right? In this version, I've called mine radio buttons. You might have called yours button interlock, something like that. Our interlocking function basically says, hey, we want to know which number of the 4 buttons do you want to turn on. It's bringing in an argument of 1 through 4. Well, 1 through 4 corresponds very nicely with this array of levels that we have set, right? Index 1, 99, index 2, 60. These are lined up already. So what we can do is at the end of our receive message command, we can go to our function button interlock, and mine is the radio button one. What button are we going to turn on? We're going to turn on the one that matches the number we're getting from the device. So we've looked at this before, where we've looked into an array and we've searched for something. We did that with our array block. We want to look in a particular array to find the first occurrence of an item. When we find that, it outputs, it resolves to the index number of that item, the mailbox number that it found it in. So we'll grab that, slap it right in here. Which array are we looking in? We're looking in the array of levels, because we're looking for a 99 or a 60 or a 30 or a 0, whatever it is. We're finding the occurrence of the actual level. And again, remember, in our array when we made them, these are all numbers. These are not strings. So we are indeed looking for a number here, not a string. Another very important reason why we had to convert it to a number. Now, when we get back 99, it will find 99 in the first slot. It will send that index of 1 to our interlocking button function, and that will automatically turn on our first button. Double check to see it works. I'll hit save changes. I'll move this down to the bottom, and look at that. There, it found a 0, so it turned on the top one. Move to the top, found a 99, so it turned on that one. Right? If I did nail 66 or 60 or whatever it is you set for your varying levels of lights, it'll light that up too. One very easy addition to our code, and we've got now better feedback on our buttons. And we're able to do that because we used functions earlier, and we built it in such a way that it could use various types of inputs via the arguments to make that possible. So one more example of how versatile functions can be when you need to use them again later on to make that same thing happen. Okay, so this is all functioning fantastically. It's exactly what we want. However, we haven't yet accommodated for the fact that, again, if someone walks into the room and presses the button on the wall, we want that to change on our UCI as well. Some lighting controllers might be very kind, and even if you press it purely on the wall, it will send out across whatever connection it may be connected to an update of what its current level is, in which case our UCI would work. Other lighting controllers might not be so kind. They might not automatically report themselves every time they receive a change, regardless of where it comes from. So we need a method of always staying up to date with that device, even when it's not naturally reporting back to us. We're going to do that in the next section. Take a quick break. We'll see you then.